Do you ever wonder why most people never reach their goals? Because a University of Scranton study indicated that 80% of people abandon their goals within the first month. So that means they drop their New Year's resolutions by February. And those that do make it past the first month, they think they know how to stay motivated. But here's where that's a myth. Because most people don't have a strong enough reason for wanting to achieve their goal, which then leads them to give up. You see, because as time goes by, what ends up happening is they give up periodically. So the more that they allow themselves to give up consecutively, it's small little incremental steps towards them ultimately giving up. But when they do that, the weaker their will becomes incrementally. So the pursuit of their goal diminishes. Eventually, their reason why just fizzles out. So at the end of the day, it's not about whether you have motivation or not. Everybody does. But it's about how much conviction you have with your motivations. So I can remember I was working for this door-to-door company, for a solar company, and I used to train people. And I remember this one woman from New York. She was really struggling in her first month, and she was nervous. She didn't want to have to give up the job. She liked the opportunity. But the problem was she didn't really believe in herself, and she would often get really discouraged. But I knew that if she could just keep her energy up during the day, she would succeed. So I started showing her the basics of the job, basically, but I also taught her that it was really about mindset at the end of the day. And what I explained was that sales, of course, is a numbers game. We all know this. And you have to knock on enough doors to find the right people, and each no that you collect is another no closer to a yes. You're out there collecting no's. But I told her that the key wasn't about avoiding rejections. It was about embracing the rejections, embracing the failure and learning from it. You know, it's almost like you can have a funny story out of a negative interaction. But at the end of the day, you don't want to let anybody's negative energy transfer to you. When you have such positive energy, your positive energy ends up transferring to them instead. Your positive energy has to be stronger than their negative energy. On top of that, it is very important to never forget the reason why you're doing this. And she had a strong reason why she was doing it. Then, going into her second month, she was like a totally different person on the doors and in the meetings. We all saw it. She had this energy to her. She responded differently. There was a spark in her eye. And she ended up becoming one of the top earners. And it just blew her away. I remember we were having a phone conversation. And she was so thrilled, not because of the money she can earn, but there was just one little perspective shift. That if she just believed in herself, it could change everything. So that experience taught me something valuable as well. That when you do shift your perspective like that, and you realize that every setback is just another step towards success, and you learn to keep your energy high no matter what, you can achieve things that you never thought were possible. And a lot of us don't think things are possible until we put the right mindset together. When it comes to people that have that strong mindset, those visionary type of people, we can't mention anybody without mentioning Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan was one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And you can argue whether it's Kobe or LeBron. I think Kobe and Jordan are probably equally as good, and they have that same thing about them. Read the book Relentless by Tim Grover. But what Michael Jordan said was he took more than 9,000 shots that he missed. He lost almost 300 games, and it was 26 times that his teammates trusted him to take the winning game shot, and he failed. So basically he failed over and over again, and that's why he succeeded. And so Jordan's story is a lesson in using failure for improvement. Because when you have that relentless drive to succeed despite all the setbacks, that's going to be the important thing. The resilience, the willingness to keep pushing after every single failure. There's this analogy. It's called the marathon runner analogy. When you think about a marathon runner, they have to train for months, sometimes years on end, to build up their stamina to do that. It's forget having a good time. Just completing that race is something great beyond belief. They have to endure many physical and mental challenges to push through all that pain and fatigue. So achieving a goal like running a marathon, it's going to require consistent effort, mental toughness, and the ability to stay focused all the way to the finish line. And when it gets hard, you keep your mind steady and calm. And so it's the iceberg illusion, man. It's a popular analogy, but basically what it is that you only see what is above the water. Most of that iceberg is beneath the water. So all the blood, sweat, and tears over the years, nobody sees. And they just see the immediate success, the tip of the iceberg. That kind of analogy really reminds us that achieving big goals is often, it's more about embracing the hard work, the hidden work that a lot of people don't see. And then you have J.K. Rowling, who, from what I understand, she had her book, her Harry Potter book, turned down a number of times by all kinds of publishers, and she just never gave up. And you see the result. It was one of the best-selling books of all time. This really just shows you the importance that persistence has. So achieving goals is really like growing bamboo. If you know about how bamboo grows, right? It takes like 5 to 7 years for just the roots to sprout into the ground. Nothing really grows above the ground. It's embedding a strong base of roots first. So it takes all that time, and then suddenly in like the 5th year, it grows 90 feet within a few weeks. It just shoots up like a parabolic stock. So you got to understand, like, this is the way nature works. There really is no overnight success, and you can't see all the stuff that's happening beneath the surface. Only you know what's happening beneath the surface. So the other thing I want to mention is Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule. It takes 10,000 hours to become a master in any field. And that kind of concept demonstrates the importance of dedication and deliberate practice over long periods of time. Because that idea just reminds you the high level of skill it takes to become flawless or close to it. Think about it. If you wanted to hit 10,000 hours in any dedication, 2 hours every day, it would take you 13.7 years. But the good thing is, it often doesn't even take that long for most goals. You can achieve mastery in a lot of things in less than 2 hours a day, 13.7 years. But if you really want to get really good, you can count on that 13.7 years, 2 hours a day at least. It just puts things in perspective. So I want to share something from Galatians 6:9. It says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So that being said, I want to give some actionable steps that help people achieve goals all the time. The first thing you really want to do is define your goal in specific detail. So you want to really write the goal down, and the more you write the goal down, the more it's going to be on the top of your mind. But you can use SMART goals where you can make them measurable, and instead of saying, like, think about it like this. Instead of saying, I want to get fit, You want to be specific to the point where you say, I want to run a 5K in 3 months. Or I want to lose 10 pounds in 7 weeks. Or just break it down. Like split your larger goals into small, tiny little milestones. As small and as fragmented as you can get them at first. Because you want to create momentum. So if, like, for example, if you want to write a book, aim to complete 1 chapter a week. You know, you can write something every day, and you can easily complete a whole chapter in a week. But these small little tiny wins every day is going to keep you motivated. The next thing you want to do is set a timeline. So you want to make a deadline, because that's going to throw an extra battery in your back to be like, I got to meet that deadline. And if you don't end up meeting the deadline, at least it'll actually make you work quicker, and it will spur you into action easier because you're working to get that deadline. List 3 priorities that you want to tackle. And it's best to do this in the morning, but you can do them at night. But just write them down. Focus on a few things at a time. Just prioritize the next best step and go after that first. And then you can track your progress, because when you look back on the progress you've made, that's where you're in the what Daniel, I can't remember his name is, but he has a book called The Gap and the Gain. I feel bad that I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but The Gap and the Gain. Check out the book, The Gap and the Gain. So Dan Hardy, that's his name. Basically, what happens is, if you're focused and worried about not getting to the end desired result, you're sitting in the gap. You're just stuck in that gap. But when you're thinking about how far you've come, you're actually in the gain. So it gives you more energy and a better mindset to keep pushing forward. Nobody wants an energy drain sitting in the gap, right? So the next thing you want to do is minimize your distractions. Distractions are the killer, man. It's the silent thief when it comes to achieving your dreams and goals. So think about this with your notifications. Do your notifications just constantly interrupt you all day long? You got to cut that out. Like, think about it. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb, at least while you're working towards what you want to achieve. Don't allow anything to interrupt that. It's one of the most important things to you. And you have to remember how important it is to you. So you're not going to let anything steal your attention from that dedicated time slot that you have. We all have like a 9-to-5 or some job that we have to dedicate time to. We all have responsibilities. We dedicate our time to all these responsibilities. We need to have something for ourselves too. Okay? So block all those distractions. Don't let them, if you're stuck on social media and you spend hours on that stuff, you gotta if you don't have the will to not look at it, you gotta offload the app, at least while you're trying to achieve your goal. If you want to write a book and you're gonna be scrolling constantly, that book is never gonna get done, man. The next thing is you want to build accountability. So if you don't have any accountability partners, you can have accountability partners in your immediate life, or you can have them digitally. Discord groups, Slack channels, these are all really great ways to hold each other accountable. When you're accountable to your peers, you do good. They encourage you, you encourage them. There's a sense of community, there's a culture, there's a family vibe going on that is, it's a rewarding feeling. Like it's an energetic feeling. We work better together than we do alone. I have to remember this too, because I like to learn. I'll put my head down and I'll work alone constantly. But at the end of the day, man, there's more chemistry with other people. So just think about those things, reflect on your progress, keep getting to the next level, and we'll see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna make this a series, okay? So I'm gonna probably make about 2 to 3 videos just on goals alone. Okay, because there's so much more on this topic. So keep getting to the next level, and we'll see you guys in the next one, man, all right? On the next climb, on the next time, stay on the shine, stay on the grind, and we'll see you again.